Joining us now is an evangelical, all right, but he's also a radio talk show host, and he's got a new book out, Twilight's Last Gleaming, Can America Be Saved? I've known Todd Starnes.com for a long time. I just recently met the .com, but I've known Todd as a human being for a while. He joins us from Memphis, Tennessee. All right, so you might expect with Donald Trump's flamboyant life, multiple marriages, he runs around, does what he wants, as I said, that evangelicals might look askance at him. Why is that not happening?
It's a great question. And Bill, I remember back in 2015 when Mr. Trump had invited all of these evangelicals to come to New York City there at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. And I was there in that meeting when it was basically an opportunity for some of these big religious leaders to ask some pretty pointed questions of Donald Trump. And look, it was clear that he's not a holy roller. He is certainly not a Southern Baptist, but it seemed like he was able to really hit those issues that impact a lot of evangelical voters like myself. And look, it was a matter of faith for a lot of these evangelicals to step out and cast their vote for him back in 2016. And I'll be darned, Bill, if he didn't deliver on pretty much all of the promises he made to the evangelical community, standing up for the big issues like religious liberty, like the culture war issues that you really brought to the forefront of the nation's conscience with the going back to the war on Christmas. Okay, so Trump governed in a fairly conservative manner, socially speaking. That's true. So that's enough to override his private life? I think so. And the reason why, and you mentioned it earlier on, I happen to be a Baptist. And like you, I'm a sinner saved by grace. And I think we've all seen that in our lives. I mean, we know the president's not perfect. But going back to the issues of governance, when you look at our founding documents, and I write about this in Twilight's Last Gleaming, our foundational freedom in this country is freedom of religion. Everything else is built on top of that freedom. And I think we've seen that freedom come under assault for many years now. And I was very happy to see the president coming into office and really helping to shore up and bringing to the table a lot of the evangelical leaders, Pastor Robert Jeffress or Tony Perkins from Family Research Council. That really said a lot to me because these men were giving President Trump good and wise and biblical counsel. All right, but he's doing that because he knows that they're going to get him votes. I don't want to be cynical about it, but I know Pastor Jeffress very well. And, Trump went out of his way to bolster him in Dallas, and there was a reason why. But when in the next few weeks we're going to hear Stormy Daniels, you don't get much, I don't even know what word to use here, but you don't get much more dubious than Ms. Daniels. And another one is going to come in from Playboy, and they're going to describe stuff that's going to be pretty shocking to religious-based people. And how do you think the reaction is going to go down? Well, I think a lot of evangelicals have seen a lot of that fornication on TV. And look, I think there is something to that as far as this is an issue for some people. But I think by and large, Bill, I think the average American voters are going to dismiss all of this. They see it as nasty, ugly politics. They see it as smears. And at the end of the day, I go back to something President Trump said a couple of weeks ago. He was catching a lot of heat for promoting the God Bless the USA Bible, this special gift Bible. And I think the problem was not necessarily promoting this Bible, which had been in existence for a couple of years, but it was what he said afterwards, where he said that if we really want to make America great, we've got to get back to church, we've got to get back to praying, and we've got to get back to reading the Bible. And I thought that was really quite unique and interesting. Come on, Todd, anybody can say that. Sure. Politicians are politicians. I'm not demeaning what he said, what Trump said, but that's easy to say. Now, the final question is what I'm going to do tomorrow is Biden
Catholic abortion. Okay. So evangelicals 100% are pro-life. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you can't be an evangelical if you believe in abortion. That would seem to override a Stormy Daniels. To me, if I were an evangelical, I'm not. The abortion is so much more serious than any kind of thing that Trump may or may not have done with Ms. Daniels. But the press is never going to frame it that way. Ever in a million years will they do that.
No, and I think that's a fair assessment. And again, I'm with you. I'm not going to judge another man's relationship with God. But you look at President Biden and you wonder how in the world can this man profess to be a practicing Catholic and then stand in sheer opposition to the pro-life movement.
It's more than that, Todd. He promotes it.
Yes, he does.
He promotes it. The Biden-Harris ticket has made abortion noble. That's so far beyond the pale. I'm just stunned. But we'll get into that tomorrow. I want to read the audience. This is on page 251. You're wrapping up your book, Twilight's Last Gleaming. You say, I wrote this book so that God-loving patriots would no longer be silent in the face of evil. Why do you think so many evangelicals and other people of faith are silent? They don't rise up. You don't see mass demonstrations like you do on the left. Why?
Well, many of us have jobs, so we can't take off, to go march in the streets and burn down things. That's not who we are. At the heart of an evangelical Christian, there's this idea that we are to be peaceful, loving people, which, yes, that's what we're called to do. But we're also called to stand up in the face of evil. And there's the great Dietrich Bonhoeffer quote, silence in the face of evil is evil itself. And I go back, I got the title of the book from a Ronald Reagan speech he delivered, making an observation about our national anthem, Bill. He said, our national anthem, it starts with a question, not with a declaration. Is the flag still flying? Can you still see the flag? And that's really a question that every generation of, I believe, God-loving patriots will have to answer for. We've got to stand up. And I think Christians of all denominations have a responsibility to stand up and be counted in the culture.
All right. Well, Todd, the book is Twilight's Last Gleaming. We recommend it. We appreciate your time tonight. And I hope we talk again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay. Now let's go to Chicago, a very troubled city. Worse than New York City. Not by much. New York City is tottering. Chicago's already fallen over the cliff. So Chicago owes, this year, 2024, $538 million. City owes. Okay? That's a deficit. Can't pay. So if all of the Chicago bonds and all the munis and all that were called, they'd have to go for bankruptcy. So they're living on borrowed money in Chicago. $538 million. It's the third largest city in the country. Population 2.7 million. Now they announce they're going to spend $70 million, money they don't have, to house, feed, and care for migrants that are pouring into Chicago because they know, the migrants do, that they'll get everything once they get in the city limits of the migrants. They'll be housed, you'll get food, you'll get whatever you need, medical care, education, boom. So you say, how can this happen? How can this happen? It happens because these cities and states, right, they borrow and borrow and borrow and borrow, and then when Armageddon, and it's happening in New York City, okay, the city is going to go over the cliff, then they go to the federal government for the bailout. But either way, we the taxpayers are paying. I bring this to your attention because these politicians, the mayors and the governors, all this, they're doing all this in the progressive states. They don't give a whit about you or how much tax you pay. They want more and more and more and more of your money, They could pass a wealth tax, they tax everything you had, they'd seize it. You should understand what's happening. Campus update. Okay, so NYU today, the students walked out of class to be anti-Israel, Columbia, Yale, on and on. Okay. Now, this is a bit confusing to some people. They don't know why this is happening. So I went on News Nation last night, Leland Vittert, okay, and here's what I said. Go. So this is how it goes. The far left, which manipulates these students and runs these protests, hates America. They feel that the USA targets and denigrates minorities, particularly African Americans. They feel that Israel does the same thing to Arabs. They feel that Israel has stolen their land, has persecuted them for centuries. They're as evil as the patriarchy that runs America. There's a linkage. So the far left, which has a database of all their sympathizers at universities, blasts out, this is what we're going to do, and the lemmings do it. So unlike Vietnam, which was an organic protest, where people, and I count myself in this crew, when I was raised in Levittown, Long Island, New York, a working class town. And when we all graduated from high school, some of us went to college, I did, all right? But most of the men at 18 got drafted and went to Vietnam and came back and told me exactly what was going on there. And I knew these guys since I'm 5, 6 years old, and I saw one commit suicide and a bunch of them get addicted to heroin, and their lives were shattered. Nobody came back in Levittown and said, this is great, we're doing the right thing. Nobody. So that's how I formulated my view. This is Israel-Gaza thing, totally apart from that. The protests are not even close. One was a real negative experience the United States was going through that was killing tens of thousands of young men. The other is a situation that's been going on for 2,000 years that these college students have no blanket clue about and don't care. This is like a big social thing for them there, and being manipulated. And that is the story. We got an eye on it. All these protesters are being arrested. Nothing going to happen to them. And that's part of the problem. I said, look, I'm president of Columbia or NYU or Yale. You think that happens on those campuses? I'm president. You think it happens? Very simple. You can protest. We set aside this place for you to go. You can protest between 9 and 8 at night so you don't disrupt the campus or disturb the neighborhood surrounding. You go off that place we gave you, you're expelled. You don't stop at the hour we designate, you're expelled. That's it. You think those campus things will continue? And then once you're expelled, you're not entitled to be on the grounds of the university. So the security removes you, and all your stuff in your dorm room is put in a box. That's put an end to it, right? Yes. Not hard. Most emergencies come without warning, and when the next one happens, you will not have a second to spare. So prepare now. Your supplies should be within reach, ready at a moment's notice. Secure those supplies at my website, preparelikebill.com. Start with the 4-week emergency food kits from My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply are the self-reliance experts. They've already helped millions of Americans since 2008. Their 4-week emergency food kits offer more than 2,000 calories every day and protected by 4-layer packaging. Their food can last up to 25 years. So visit preparelikebill.com. Get $50 off as many food kits as your family needs. They even ship fast and free in unmarked boxes. Save $50 per kit at preparelikebill.com, preparelikebill.com. San Francisco. So one time San Francisco was the hottest, most lucrative real estate market in the country. All right? Everybody wanted to go to the city by the bay. Why? Because it's beautiful, or it used to be. I love going to San Francisco. My last trip there was just in under the wire before it totally collapsed. And I took my son, and we went to Alcatraz and Fisherman's Wharf. And I know San Francisco very well, Chinatown. So it was ridiculous to buy a house in San Francisco. The prices were, they peaked at $1.66 million in April 22. And for $1.66 million, you got a 2-bedroom apartment, condo, not a house. Okay, you want a house, you better bring $5-6 million. Now it's dropped dramatically, okay? And it's because of the crime and the homelessness, and the far left took over. So 18% of the homes that sold in San Francisco for the first 3 months of this year, 24, okay, 18% sold at a loss. People lost an average of $155,000. And the market is flooded with sales. Flooded. People want to get out. Well, they can, because things are not going to get better in San Francisco. They're not. They're going to go worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon, you're going to have so much anarchy there. I don't know how you can have any more than you have now, but it's possible. When I go to San Francisco now, I don't stay in the city. I stay in Marin. I go right across the Golden Gate. There's some very nice hotels in Marin. And I take the ferry when I have to do business in San Francisco. Okay. UK. So everybody thinks England, Great Britain, and America are simpatico like this. No. Very, very apart on the migrant issue. That's the reason Great Britain left the EU. They didn't want to be flooded with people from all over the world. Once you're in the EU, there's no passport control. Anybody can go wherever they want, including if you're an illegal migrant. Nobody checks you. England, London said no, and they pulled out. Okay, now they still got migrants coming all the time. Some of these people, these poor people, are so desperate, they go on top of the trains through the channel from France to London. They're literally on top of the train, holding on. That's how desperate these people are. So England's been overwhelmed by migrants. Here's what they've done. And this is a story, again, not reported in the United States. England made a deal with the African country of Rwanda. Okay, remember Rwanda was the genocide place and all of that? Okay, it's a little bit better now. And they gave Rwanda $300 million, or pounds, whatever, to take all of the asylum seekers that find themselves on British soil. So if you get to Britain and the authorities round you up, you can't stay in Britain. You go to Rwanda, and that's where you wait. And trust me, you're going to be waiting for a long time. So the deportation flights are expected to begin this summer. You put all of the asylum people on. It's like the wait in Mexico. But Mexico, you're waiting just across the border. Here, you're flying 1,000 miles south to Rwanda. Okay? And the flights expect to be in the summer. Totally, Rwanda is going to make about $700 million out of this. So that's why Kilgari, that's the capital of Rwanda, is doing it. $700 million, they're not going to get that anywhere else. So they're going to take the migrants. I feel desperately sorry for these people. They have nothing. And now they're going to get booted out of England or Scotland or any part of the UK. And they're going to show up in Rwanda. Did you know that? No. This is the kind of stuff that should be reported. Okay, back to the USA. 25% of Americans over the age of 50 say they never expect to retire. They're going to drop dead in the workplace. Most of it's financial. And this comes from the AARP survey of more than 8,000 adults. So they go, we can't retire. All right, 25%. 70% say we can't meet our expenses now. And that's because of Biden. Everything's higher. So Biden goes, oh, we're going to get a bunch of lies. All right, you just go down a list. You want to buy a car, it's more expensive than it was 4 years ago. House, way more expensive. Insurance on anything, way more expensive. Food, 30% more. On and on and on and on and on. So the older people in America, the senior citizens, can't keep up. Our retirement funds and our Social Security can't keep up. So we got to work. So that's what's happening there. Now, I'm surprised the AARP is doing this because that's a very pro-Biden outfit, very left-wing AARP. That's why we're at AMAC. Okay, AMAC does pretty much the same thing that AARP, but AMAC is traditional and leans right, whereas AARP is left. Okay, now because of this and your computer looking at it all day, every day, nearsightedness, myopia is booming. By 2050, half the people on Earth are going to be nearsighted because of the screens. So get ready. And if you want to buy I just had to buy sunglasses, $400. $400. The prescription, but come on. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation supports America's greatest heroes, U.S. service members, and first responders who gave their lives, those catastrophically injured in the line of duty, and homeless vets. The Foundation's Gold Star Fallen First Responder and Homeless Vet programs honor the sacrifices made by men who fought and died for us, and women who risked their lives for our country as well. The Foundation's Never Forget program engages people in 9/11 remembrances across America with more than 80 runs, walks, and dozens of golf outings every year. The Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute educates kids from kindergarten through 12th grade about America's darkest day, while helping our nation keep its vow to never forget. So please support Tunnel to Towers. Donate $11 a month. Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. More than 95 cents of every dollar you donate to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. That's T, the number 2, another T.org. Sorting through your expense tracking, estimated payments, and all those tax deductions can be overwhelming. It might even lead to a failure to file and failure to pay penalties that pile up on your tax debt. The attorneys at Tax Network USA have been lifesavers for many. Their team has successfully saved clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you're in the hole for $10,000 or starting at a $10 million debt, they are ready to help you. The expert attorneys and tax professionals at Tax Network USA are equipped to secure the best settlement for you and help you resolve all tax cases. So please go to tnusa.com/bill, or you can call 1-800-245-6000. These tax debt relief programs are expected to change, so get to them now. Visit tnusa.com/bill or call 800-245-6000. Tell them O'Reilly sent you. All right, here's the final thought. I wrote a message of the day, and I hope you read that. It's free. Let's go every morning. About a phone call I had with Donald Trump in 2016. And the phone call concerned his, at the time, lawyer, Michael Cohen, who's now involved in the Trump trial in New York City. And on that phone call, I called Michael Cohen a weasel. That was 8 years ago. And I write the message of the day and explain why. And I'm an oracle. I told Mr. Trump. This guy is a weasel. You better not trust him. That is the message of the day, should you want to check it out on BillO'Reilly.com. We will have a new column on Sunday. We thank you very much for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We'll see you again on Monday. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.